How's it going out there, YouTube? My name is Jesse, and I am the curator for the Golden Age, and this is another...
All serious of it, you've got to stop this.
What do you mean?
He is Bronze Age.
Okay, yes, I am doing a Bronze Age character, but as I've said in the past, if I find it particularly interesting or somebody requests it, I'll sometimes go outside of the Golden Age.
What was the reason this time?
Well, there's a reason, and it's because... Should we put a spoiler warning on this one?
Probably a good idea.
Okay, should I timestamp in editing here, or tell them to fast forward like 2 minutes? Okay, we'll timestamp. Okay, for anybody who hasn't seen the Superman movie, this is the spoiler. Peacemaker has made a cameo appearance in the Superman movie, which sparked my interest for wanting to review him. And I know James Gunn's put out a couple of articles trying to say how he fits in canonically, because the Peacemaker TV show is based on the old DCEU and not the new one that he's created. So I just thought that now would be a good time to do Peacemaker, and I think he has a series. His season 2's coming up pretty soon. Anyways, spoiler done. I am doing the Peacemaker, and this is Peacemaker, the live-action version. Don't play his music.
He is Peacemaker.
Because we're not reviewing John Cena, we're reviewing Peacemaker. Don't play that either.
And why not?
Because we'll get copyrighted.
How can you be for sure?
Because we got copyrighted when we played the I'm a Real American. Hulk Hogan, you are a prince. Rest in peace. Anyways, back to the video. That's right, we are doing Peacemaker. Now, I have to admit, before I started doing the research, I knew a little bit about Peacemaker from his DC, but he didn't actually start in DC comic books. He started in Charleston comics, and he would be one of the guys that they brought over when they brought over many Charleston characters. Now, what I find interesting about this is that this Peacemaker didn't outright kill people like he did in DC. Now, not to saying that his actions didn't lead to a couple of deaths. It was basically the situation was set up where they killed themselves through actions of the Peacemaker. It's a gray area, but he never outright killed people. Most of his stuff that was designed was to incapacitate people. And that's basically what his thing was. He hated violence, he abhorred violence, but he knows that he needed to use violence to bring about peace. And that's actually a pretty common stance. I mean, that's what we do in the world today, wars to bring about peace. Do I think that it's needed? Unfortunately, yes. It works for the most part, and that's what the original Peacemaker exemplifies. Peace through violence, because violence begets violence, but he brings about peace by stopping the violence, by committing violence. I know, that's circular logic that can go on for a long time. But we're going to go ahead and cover his first appearance in Charleston. Now, I'm only going to be covering his Charleston stuff. If you want to see him in DC, the material is out there and you can find it. But I'm only going to cover his appearance in Charleston, and he's Batman. That everything I'm going to go over will show you about how he's Batman. He's Peacemaker, but he's Batman. Let's go ahead and get this started. Peacemaker. Peacemaker, real name Christopher Smith, first appeared in Fighting 5 number 40 in 1966. Publisher is Charleston, and he is created by Joe Gill and Pat Boyette. See, Peacemaker, a hero who loved peace so much he was willing to fight for it. The long and short of it is, he's Batman. That's basically what he is. all the description of why he's Batman. He goes out of his way to not kill his enemies. If the enemies die, it is because of the situations that has presented itself, but not directly by his hand. He has a gigantic arsenal and tech equipped on him at all time to handle any situation that he finds himself in. He has a cave that he keeps all of his equipment into. He has a computer which allows him to find and deduce things where he can be anywhere in the world. He has a plane, a jetpack, a one-man submarine, and basically land, sea, and air he is capable of fighting in. So, he's Charleston's versions of Batman. Now, the helmet that we are used to, he does have for most of his issues, but he changes it in number 5 to be more of a fin instead of just the, what did they describe it in the show, the toilet bowl? I don't like the fin as much. Now, he did start in Charleston Comics Fighting 5 number 40, and the Fighting 5 started at 28 and ran to 41, and the reason they started in 28 is they were a holdover from another title that went to the Fighting 5, and then after 40 and 41, they went to the Peacemaker comics, where Peacemaker was the cover feature and the front runner, and then the Fighting 5 would still appear in the Peacemaker comics, but as the backup feature. Now, Peacemaker did not own either of the first 2 covers that he was in. He wasn't even the featured story in the first 2 that he was in. And the first and second appearance are 2 stories together. The first one was to be continued, and the second one was the finishing of the story. Now, I looked at all these other comics that he was supposed to appear in, Go-Go number 8, The Many Ghosts of Dr. Greaves, and Thunderbolts number 59. He is not technically in those. They are promotional materials where he appears and shows with other heroes, basically advertising itself. So the fact that he's in Go-Go, The Many Ghosts of Dr. Greaves, and Thunderbolts is disingenuous. He only has real appearances in the last 2 issues of Fighting 5, and his 1 through 5. Now, there is technically a 6th issue of Peacemaker, but I don't think that one was ever put into production. It's completely in black and white. The cover that they put for it is the same cover of his first issue. There is no copyrights. There's no copyright. There's no dates. There's no artists. So, I mean, he has the fin that he created in number 5, but I guess they just didn't get around to printing number 6, which they have a full story in there, but there's nothing in the other comics. No real title, no real end page, no advertisements, nothing in there at all. So, I think that this was meant to be done, but it's possible that they canceled it, or they ran out of money, or Charleston may have closed before this issue was able to come out. Now, the Peacemaker has many different types of gadgets and equipment with him. I mean, but it's all supposed to be non-lethal stuff. Like, his helmet will fire out a laser, but he never uses the laser to hurt anybody. And what was the one scene? They were talking about him being unarmed, and I love this. It was out of issue number 4. Unarmed. Peacemaker is never without weapons. For instance, observe. Here we go. Plastic impregnates with RDX and a hidden fuse, laser. Nitroglycerin under conditions is highly combustible. Sidearms, derringers, and various miniature tools for escape. When the tiny vial built into his gloves is crushed, it becomes a firebomb. Each heel is a penetrarized compound. The Peacemaker is always well armed. And yet that goes well with his way of neutralizing foes. He doesn't kill the people, but he'll neutralize him. When they introduce an assistant that would be in issues 4 and 5, they make an assassination attempt, and he eliminates the assassin. Let's see. He pulls out the small gun to shoot him back. And she was like, he said, get this guy into processing. And she's like, process? How cold-blooded can you be? He is dead, isn't he? I used a medicated pellet which stuns instantly. Paul will question him and send him back to his employers. And that is among the many things that he did. Now, they portray Peacemaker as being a rich socialite, which would explain his home that's high up in the Alps and his ability to create all the weaponry. I mean, you see this thing, it's massive. Unless he had, like, a small fortune, there's no way he's going to be able to afford all this, which is another reason why I think he's basically the Batman of Charleston comics. I mean, just take a look at all of this. And we'll go even more into depth when we do the first appearance. When he gassed a whole army, it was with a neuralizing gas, which incapacitated the army and seized up the mechanical devices. But he didn't kill anybody with the gas. He stopped missiles from being fired by a radar scrambler, so the missiles either exploded before they left the launch pad or they went into the wrong direction. So when he was underwater, he actually had a compound that, when released underwater, would paralyze any foes that were near him. Like I said, he was Batman. Now, a couple of people did die, but they weren't dead by his hand directly. The situation presented itself where the only way for them to be stopped was the unfortunate death. But that wasn't what he was trying to do. He didn't want them to die. He only wanted them incapacitated. Because as he stated in many issues, he either hated violence or he abhorred violence. And he said it very stately as that. Okay. So, I mean, there's no strength, there's no superpowers, there's nothing outwardly worldly about him except that he is very intelligent. In fact, in one issue where he's trying to stop a nuclear power plant, he finds out that he cannot escape the gravity that's pulling him down, so he flies into the power plant. But he moves at such a way, he creates a sonic shockwave around him that not only keeps the heat from affecting him, he builds up enough energy through this shockwave, and he's able to bust open a wall that led him to the area where the controls are, so he could shut off the nuclear power plant. The shockwave, which built up around me, cushioned the impact, but I hate to have to smash walls with my head very often. His helmet was also impact proof. He did get what was seemingly incapacitated once by having something deflect off of his head, but he used that just to get closer to the main bad guy. Mostly he fought warlords and criminals. A couple of times he fought a couple of subterranean individuals. Something like some creatures that could alter their appearance, and he fought lava men. But most of the time, he just fought other countries and encouraged, in quotation marks, them to find peace. So let's go ahead and cover the first appearance so you can see basically who Christopher Smith was and how different he is in the Charleston comics to how he is in DC comic books, where he feels that killing his villains is the best way to stop them. Batman, take notes, deal with the Joker. Okay, well, let's go ahead and cover his first appearance. A great new addition to the Charleston line of action heroes, introducing the Peacemaker. This is a man who detests war, violence, and the dreadful waste of human life and the senseless conflicts between nations. A man who loves peace, so much so that he is willing to fight for it. This is the same man, named Christopher Smith, occupation envoy of the Geneva Arms Conference, a man dedicated to peace. Now that is quite an entry. I mean, just side by side. Alright. The president is concerned about the border wars in South America. So we see him starting off with his inner monologue. These wars are being provoked, but by who? I am satisfied that none of the great powers are meddling in the area. So we see his inner monologue of where he's going over the current war that's going on right now. Let's see. They're buying tanks and guns and bombers and kill each other in the war neither of them wants. So he's convinced that neither side wants this war, but they are fighting. And unfortunately, I think it's human nature to fight. I mean, every single generation you can name a war that's been going on. Okay, so he lands and he has a limo waiting for him. And he is going to meet, let's see, Bork. Bork is believed to have agents operating in the country, Mr. Smith. It was reported that they sabotaged building bridges and inflamed the governments. Emil Bork, and as we see him, they open fire on the limo that Christopher Smith is riding in. Get down, Miss Blair, and stay down. Well done. Well done. Now get down there. So he sends his henchmen to go get the briefcase. Let's see. The master ordered us to get the papers, which the American envoy is carrying. They must be in here. They open the briefcase, and as the briefcase is opened, and an odorless, deadly gas is released. Which, I'm surprised that it's a deadly gas here. Because in the other issues, we show that he's used gas that has been able to incapacitate and stop people without killing them. But here, it is deadly gas is released. What happened to them, Mr. Smith? A precautionary device, Miss Blair, to ensure that these papers won't fall into the wrong hands. You don't like to kill people, and you have non-lethal suppression devices. So why, in the briefcase, is there deadly gas? Why didn't you just have some of your suppression gas, the ones that put people down without actually killing them? Okay, a day later, so it's been a day since then, at the embassy dinner, Christopher Smith once more encounters Emil Bork. I think that's how his name is pronounced. Mr. Christopher Smith, you will find Mr. Emil Bork interesting. Mr. Bork is attending our peace conference as an advisor, considering that it was him and his men who were shooting on him the minute he showed up. Okay, Mr. Bork has some extremely effective rapid-fire weapons, I believe. You know of them, Mr. Smith? You are very well informed. If he's advising the police conference as an advisor, and you just said that he's a weapons manufacturer, why would he be advising at a peace conference? Okay, so they have a conversation. There is an adage in our country which indicates that little knowledge is a dangerous thing. Too much knowledge, Mr. Smith, can be fatal. So we see him keeping an eye on Mr. Bork as he's talking to other people. Bork will use assassins, saboteurs, bribery, or any other methods to achieve his ends. I have only an inadequate diplomat and legal machinery to stop him. Later, in Christopher Smith's private retreat high in the Swiss Alps. Hi! Bork is unscrupulous. I've used every means at my disposal to foil his plans. So we see him walking through the... Now, he talks about how he detests violence so much here. I detest violence. Let's see... The senseless war, he must be stopped. I cannot succeed with peaceful methods. Although violence is against everything I stand for. Yeah! I got it! You said in the very beginning that you detest violence, and in this page, you talk about it several different times. Okay, so he goes down into the cellar, and he says that there's no other way. Now, this is what I don't get. Inside is an arsenal of the most potent weapons ever devised by man. He has designed all of them, but a man dedicated to peace and nonviolence, Christopher Smith, has sworn never to use any of them. Then why did you make them? You said that you don't want to use any weapons, so why? Not only did you make them, but you have a whole, what appears to be a bat cave full of them. This is an arsenal of the most potent weapons ever devised by man. If you are a peacemaker, aside from who it is, he wants peace, why do you have such an expansive arsenal? I mean, look all around. I'm assuming that these jets and tanks are supposed to be representations of stuff you have. You see the guns everywhere, the rifles on the wall, the derringers on the pillar, the shield. For some odd reason, I thought that there would have been swords sticking out of it, like what you see on the wall. So, if you are so dedicated to peace, why do you have such an arsenal? You're holding a rifle in your hand. He must be stopped. I cannot succeed with peaceful methods. I've resisted taking the step, but in this case, violence must be met with violence. Although violence is against everything I stand for, there is no other solution. Yeah, I got that. The first, 4 or 5 times that you said you were against violence. Okay, so we see him for the first time get dressed up in his Peacemaker outfit. And so, although Christopher Smith has sworn never to use the implements of violence, there it is again. How many times do you have to tell us that he prefers nonviolence and peace? I think he pretty much hammered that point in by now. And look at all those weapons. That has got to be a grenade launcher. Let's look at these things as they panel towards him. That is it looks like the edge of a rocket. That is a rifle. Below that is what appears to either be a drum or a housing for a grenade launcher. And then this weapon that almost looks like a crossbow with a scope. You got the plane and a missile on the wall. I mean, Jesus. There are some warlords who would love to get their hands on this place. Okay. He reluctantly assumes the role of the Peacemaker. A role he resolves he will only take when there is no other recourse, when violence can only be stopped by violent actions. I've got to learn what Bork is up to right now. My new jetpack will take him out quickly. Yeah, I like the jetpack. It's actually pretty interesting. And it also doubles when he goes under the water as a propelling device to make him move faster. Okay, so we see him taking off. How are you making this? How are you piloting that? There is nothing with you that sets off your directionals. Is there a gyroscope? How do you move up and... How are you piloting with a simple propeller on your back? It doesn't make any sense. Don't get me wrong. I like the jetpack and something very similar that Wonder Man had, but how do you pilot that thing? The new jetpack gives the Peacemaker the unlimited power of flight. Yeah, I would really like you to explain how that works. Built into his marvelously designed headpiece of the Peacemaker is a all-wave radio receiver, and is now getting the first inklings of Bork's next move. And inform the Master that the members of the Peace Commission are in our custody. The radio signal emanated from this field. There is a possibility that there is a gyroscope in his helmet, but it still doesn't explain how he is able to go up and down. I mean, you see him coming out in an arc. How did you make that arc without any, like, wings or ailerons or I have been away from the Air Force for so long, I've forgotten most of what I've learned. But there are many things that require you to be able to fly properly that you're not going to get from a simple propeller on your back. Okay, the Master's orders are to execute anyone in the way. Incredible, I missed. Bork's operatives aren't missing. The Peacemaker wears a thin, pliable body armor which sheds ordinary bullets. So when they were shooting at him, they thought they were missing, but his body armor is deflecting it. Like I said, he's Batman. Although Christopher Smith has lived a life dedicated to peace as the Peacemaker, again, he displays an awesome talent for violence, but he doesn't have eyes in the back of his head, so he isn't aware of the powerful weapon in the hands of Bork's chief assassin until it is too late. Turn around. I must learn who you are before I kill you. That's awful decent of you. I mean, I'm going to kill you, but please, tell me who you are first. I am the Peacemaker, sworn enemy of your kind. I will tell the Master what you said. So he's talking about the laser ray that he has in here. I've got the laser ray. I can destroy him down to the last molecule, but such an action is against every instinct. Good Lord. You are able to put a you said laser ray, but it will destroy him down to the last molecule. That is a molecular disintegrator, and you made it that small? That's damn impressive. I must do it. I've got no choice. Now, he talks about whether if he shoots the guy, it will dissolve him down to the last molecule, but he turns it onto the weapon instead. So if he was just going to shoot the weapon with the laser ray, why even go into that? Was it just to give us a little exposition of what your laser is doing? The Peacemaker aims the laser ray at the weapon instead of the man. Yeah, I mean, that just made sense. And the weapon melts, turning white hot in the assassin's hands. Bork is your master. Where is he? Don't hurt me. He's waiting in that twin jet bomber over there. So he leaps towards the bomber and grabs onto it. This rocket will pulverize the fool. I can't dodge it. Let's see. He uses his laser ray to detonate the bomb, but he's in the blast zone. So Bork flies off, and the impact from the bomb sends Peacemaker falling out of the sky with a jetpack that doesn't have any directional sense to it. Nothing will stop me as the world goes up in flames. My power will grow and grow. Is this the end of the Peacemaker? Is his noble crusade finished before it has really begun? Don't miss the next exciting chapter of the Peacemaker and the next issue of Fighting 5. And he manages to get his jetpack ignited at the last minute, and he flies to safety, inches from the ground. But and to make a long story short, he does end up stopping Bork at the end by causing his missiles to blow up inside of the plane, which explodes the plane and kills, Bork. Peacemaker didn't kill him. Bork killed himself. It's sketchy, but that's what it is. I hope you liked this video. I hope you got some enjoyment out of this. It definitely brought a new version of Peacemaker for me that I didn't know about before, because I didn't know he started in Charleston Comics. So, until next time, I'll be seeing you. If you have any requests, always send those in. Might have time for one more DC hero. We'll see how the following schedule irons out. Until next time, I'll be seeing you.